Well, see, I think of artists as real problem solvers, and, we figure things out, and it's like, as you're working, you go, oh yeah, I could do that. Oh yeah, okay, that'll be good. And then, it's like these constant, fantastic. Okay, great. Yeah. So to me, it's like, a great scientist or, some little discovery that got you to this other thing that you didn't imagine a second before. It's great.
Welcome to the Mixed Media Tapes. The Mixed Media Tapes is a short artist talk series based on word and phrase prompts. I have invited visual artists to select prompts from a list and to share their thoughts and stories based on those prompts. In this recording, Bonny Leibowitz talks about free association and experimentation in her process.
Bonny Leibowitz, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I chose your prompt, free association, because it has so much to do with how I've been working in the last few years especially. I started moving into dimensional work, which grew out of my use of my previous series of collage materials, mixed media mainly, on flat surfaces, in which I might add things like seeds or fabric. So I was working on flat surfaces to create work, but eventually I started moving into things that were dimensional, but it was still on the flat surface or still in the square. And then I started to think about using that imagery as being dimensional. So one of the images that I had on my flat surfaces was a pod-like image. So I wanted to go into dimension with that, and so I wanted to see where that would go. So when I was working with just these more two-dimensional works with just some elements in it, it just seemed to be really direct information speaking to the concept. And then what happened was, as I started working more dimensionally with 3D and objects, 3D materials, and going away from the square or the rectangle or the flat surface, I was able to add a lot of information into my work that was more paradox and irony, and just somehow being able to bring these materials in to associate with one another and just really set up a whole different set of circumstances. So it just set my work into a whole different tone. And then I found that the concept and the materials really started working with each other. And that's where I think the free association comes in, and it was like a big surprise for me how that happened. And so the work became much broader in scope. At first, moving away again from those surfaces, although I love painting, I love drawing, I love different materials, but having that desire or that call to move off of those surfaces just made me think about concept in my work in a much bigger way, because I had to think about how to attach things and how to talk about different surfaces. I was really interested I love luscious materials and finding new materials to play with, and I think that was really important for me. And then also coming out of my my last series of works, someone had said to me that the work, they liked that some of the work kind of had a kitsch element to it, but that I also spoke to the other end of that. So it also had a serious, darker undertone, but also this kitsch. And somehow those words really rung true for me. And so I was able to push that in a bigger way. So now I call my work, the last series, this series I'm doing, Suspended Beliefs, 3D mixed media. And I think part of that is that it's very hard to come out of a past that might think of sculpture as a single structure or singular structure, and with having so many pieces relating to each other and connecting and talking to each other, somewhat like an installation, but not necessarily because they work individually, that the word sculpture to me is still, I have some of that old world thinking where it's stuck as a piece, but I know that's not necessarily true. And so for me, the word 3D mixed media, or the title 3D mixed media works because I'm on the wall, I'm off the wall, I'm on the floor. There's several pieces making up a work. So anyway, the materials I found could really boost the concept of the work, and it could poke fun at it. You could find absurdity or subtle or obvious ways to talk about work and its irony, whatever concept, and just by using different materials. Let me think. Let's see, if I wanted to, and then when I'm working with some of the materials too, I find that, you might put something next to each other and it makes a really interesting point, but it's not where you want to go. So that material leaves and I bring in something else. So I think in the past, in my history of art making, I've gotten early on when I wanted to change my ways and move from one series or way of thinking to another. I had a lot of trouble, like with this, being stuck in the idea of that I had to be what I always was all the time, forever. And so now I'm really finding that, again, the word free association being so important, that after struggling through that I can really allow things to relate and emerge and naturally grow into a new series and, be okay with it and listen to my gut and my intuition, without hearing lots of, oh, you're supposed to be this thing, for us. So, it's been really, really great working with all these materials. So let me see. So this new series, this Suspended Beliefs, let's see. I think one of the things that made me want to bring out the concept of kitsch a little bit more was I suddenly grew really interested in this overly glamorous golds and gild and just kind of glitz, and which I usually wouldn't have liked at all, but it really pushed the concept of this struggle versus and decay versus glitz and glamour, and again, what we're supposed to be, concepts of appearances and ideals about beauty and all of those things. So then I just really started growing to love it, and I was really drawn to a lot of things that say that for me. And so the patterning and beauty of just these overly decorated objects in the Baroque period really started becoming important for me. Well, for me, what happened was just the idea of using these materials that, are readily bought and everyday materials and not so glamorous to talk about something that is so glamorous. So that's been a lot of fun for me, is just being able to put your mind to work with concept at the same time. And that can happen, of course, in anything. I mean, if you're painting and your concepts are about paint and surface, and I mean, so that, I don't think that a story necessarily has to be there of such, but for me, that's what this body of work is about. I think another thing too is just the physical use of all these materials. I'm really enjoying using, finding objects, making connections with those objects. Some of them, maybe I'll find some old pediments or shelves or these crazy footstools, and you're like, why would somebody need this crazy looking Baroque footstool? But, just using them in my work, and then also making these vessels or these pods that are just kind of decaying. And I think just learning how to make things attach and being learning about using different materials and tools has been pretty fantastic. Plaster and textiles, and just figuring out how to get things attached to one another and how to place them, like unusual placements. And so that's why I chose free association. It's been real important to me.
Yeah, you have a quote too.
Yes. Along those lines, I picked a quote, and it's, like I said, it's not an artist quote. It's Pema Chodron. And I just like this because I've gone through so many difficult times, as many artists have in their work. And I'll just read the quote first. So she says, to be fully alive, fully human, and completely awake is to be continually thrown out of the nest. To live fully is to be always in no man's land, to experience each moment as completely new and fresh. To live is to be willing to die over and over again. And it's like, it's like, I don't know, I feel like that in my work in a number of ways. And, I don't want to be a downer, but I mean, it is about life and death, and it is about wondering what the heck, we're doing here and all of those things. So, at least for me. And I think for many people, we're just going through stuff. And so for me, it's like, I think you can remember times when you're like just completely, lost, let's say, in what you want to do next, or, where you're going with your work, and something threw you out from where you were previously. And so, there's times where you can just take that and be completely lost and devastated, or you can use that to just keep working. And usually that's when the best work comes out to me, is when something really major has happened. And it could be in your personal life, or to me sometimes that's when I finish a series and then I'm like, okay, I said everything I want to say. I think about that, but my desire is just to continue on, but it's not happening. So then I work from some elements in that series and bring them forward into my next. And sometimes it's really difficult pinpointing what that is, and I could sit and kind of daydream my work for hours on and on and on, and where it's going next, and it just feels very uncomfortable. It feels like a really uncomfortable place to be sometimes. And but I've learned to really appreciate it, because I know that's when I'm going to come up with something more, my next investigation. And I don't think I'm very proficient at living each moment completely new and fresh. But I try. But, more importantly in that quote, I think, is to be willing to die over and over again is like I think we're risk takers, so to take risks with your work, taking risks, making connections, and there's a lot of scary times doing that, and there's a lot of joyful times, and it's an excellent way to live. I think it's great with just to have new discoveries. It would be quite boring otherwise. And so for me, before I really kind of knew this and understand this for myself a little bit more, it was scary to transition. And now, even though it could be uncomfortable, it's like I've had a little bit more time with it, that it just felt real confirming to read this to me. And so that's I think it's just important to be tenacious. I like the idea of being what she says, being kicked out of the nest, doesn't feel good, but, it might be the best thing for you, for me. So I like that saying real well. This is Bonny Leibowitz, and you're listening to the Mixed Media Tapes.
I'm your host, Philip J. Mellon. I'll be releasing more of these talks over the next couple weeks, so please stay tuned, and thanks for listening.